should be online. You can tell from the super grand backdrop here, I'm finally back at home. Not doing any gaming tonight, working on a couple projects I've got put together that I've taken off the laser and need to actually assemble now. The first one's a little wooden box. It's in 3 sections. I've already got hinges and stuff and wood glue to get it all put together. Second one is a knife block made out of just stacked layers of cardboard. I'll talk more about that when I get to it. But first is putting this shit together. I still don't know if I can use language on this. Of course I can use language. I'm using language. I don't know if I can use the language that I'm very used to using. So wood glue, realizing all the stuff that I have put together, I still need toothpicks or Q-tips or something for cleaning up the glue. So back with that in a second. Toothpicks. In any case, I've done some updating in the studio here. I have an actual backdrop behind me. It's just a projector screen, and I have a couple new lights. They don't really show in the whole grand scheme of things, but just having good ambient light in here really feels nice to me. So, where's this going to be nice and centered and visible? I'm used to working so much right under my face, but the camera's out here, so I realize I'm probably just going to glue this to the table. If my voice is a little weird today, I've been kind of fighting a cold-ish sort of thing, just sneezing a lot the last few days. So I've already had to sand these middle pieces down some, because I cut slots into this bottom piece with the laser, but the curving on the laser beam is just a tiny bit narrow, and it wasn't quite calculated correctly against the model that I made, so it's just a very, very tight fit for that, and I had to sand some of that down. Decided to do most of that off stream because it's very noisy. It's not really the most friendly thing to be doing on stream, going anyway, just trying to even out these beads of glue. I don't even necessarily need to glue these center divider pieces in at all, because they're going to both be held in by the end caps, which I've got back and front here. They're both going to be just held, like, I guess the front of this one is up a bit, but going to be held in by the end caps, but just want to have a little layer of glue on everything. So let's go ahead and put the front up here. This bottle of glue is in fact overkill for small woodworking applications, but I was at the hardware store and it's what I got. I was at the hardware store. It's what I grabbed. I'll use it for basically a lot of things around the house. So fold that up in front. Make sure it's locked against the inner dividers. Press that into place. I'm happy with how flat this plywood's turning out to be. It's just plain old sheet of just got a plain old sheet of 24-inch by 48-inch by quarter-inch plywood from local big box, not even local, chain big box hardware store. Just got that and decided to cut it down. No, it's not Glowforge proof grade materials, so might even be avoiding my warranty trying to use it, or if I have trouble trying to use it, I can't go to tech support and be like, help, and they're like, did you get your material from us? I'm like, no, it's from the hardware store, and they're like, well, go away. You're not supposed to do that. I respect that's how they make money, but this stuff is real easy to get a hold of. Got to cut it down a bit so it fits in the bed, but that's all right. Once it's on there, it's relatively flat, relatively consistent. I had an incident while I was cutting it where there was just a knot hole missing from the center patch of that, so I was just trying to engrave a hinge thing there, like engrave just a little bit of indent in the back pieces for the hinge. I was trying to do that and realized I had cut entirely through the material, and there was just a hole just missing. I thought at first that it had caught on fire and burned that hole out. Then I looked through and like, I don't think that's what actually happened. That would have been awkward. I don't have a fire extinguisher sitting up by the glow forge, and I was sitting on the other side of the room. So if it had caught on fire, I would have noticed immediately. That's bad operating procedure for a laser. You're supposed to be standing right there within 3 feet of it. I was on the other side of the room, probably playing Magic or something. Alright, so this back piece is breaking. It's not coming on very nicely because somewhere in the several iterations of it cracked, but I'm going to say that since it's all already going to be glued in place anyway, I'll just imagine that's not cracked. Sand that down a bunch. I was saying something before I got to that. I don't know. I lost the train of thought there. So I have no idea how to find even when I'm viewing or not. Alright, yeah, let's get. Okay, I've got a viewer count visible on my screen. Nobody's here. Talking about it for YouTube. You'll see this in the recording. Someone will see this in the recording, even if it's just me looking at my own stuff, making sure I'm not, I don't know, typing my password in on screen. But yeah, when I was, that's not quite locked down. There we go. Shoot, that's all smooth. Locked into place. Yeah, when I was doing the iteration of, okay, where do these hinge indents go? How do I shape them against the hinges? So I've got these kind of fanciful brass fleur-de-lis sorts of things. And at some point, as I was doing the Inkscape to Glowforge kind of back and forth there, it started printing suddenly, or not printing, but the export, the SVG file, as it was coming into the Glowforge app, was suddenly coming in just a quarter of an inch shorter, and suddenly these very carefully sized pieces were not printing out the same size. I'd already printed out this one. I'd print out this one, and it would be about that long. Why isn't this coming? So I was getting a little desperate. I had to kind of just manually resize it back up. Just go into the screen and drag it out, sized a bit bigger there. And I think at some, so that's just a weird kind of bit of fit there, and yeah, I cracked it a bit trying to pull it in, but that'll set down. That'll be fine. I don't know if I'm going to paint the outside of this or just sand it nicely, and because it's not for all-weather use, anything silly like that. So, slap this side on. Nah, that's going to be way too gloppy. I've got a lot of excess glue on this one. Transfer, edit this up to inside of that. Yeah, a smaller bottle of glue would be useful for that sort of, but as it is, I will take what I've got. Looks like I'm getting glue on spots that aren't supposed to be adhesive. Alright, one side in there. Get that all, doing the thing where you get the nice glue globs on your hand. Nice side for the bottom half of the box. get it. Slap that onto there. And so that's the bottom half all set. Turns out this is actually real easy, but I do need to let it sit, let it rest. But I have these rubber bands, try to hold it nice and tightly together while the glue dries. So just one around that, hold it back in place. Now the really hard ones could do, not hard, but just do these all the way around. So basically I got to just let this glue all dry. And then sand down all the outsides and smooth off all these spots where the tabs interface from one side to the other. So I've got more rubber bands. I've got the other half of the box to put in. It's alright. This. Let's see, where's it leaking glue? It's kind of not, so I'll just rub this down a bit. At least get the existing glue off my table before I apply a new layer of glue. This table's a bit shaky, but it's a IKEA adjustable height sort of desk thing. I don't know if it's super obvious on the camera that I'm actually standing here. This one over so it's right side out. Now this one I don't have the benefit of the middle pieces to hold everything together, so getting this one in without cracking it is apparently going to be a bit of a struggle, because it is like, if I fit this one into here. Scanlime, Micah, good to see you. Yeah, so just like the sizing on this is just a tiny bit off. So I'm gonna have to try to glue this down. Hopefully I won't crack this piece putting onto there. Otherwise I'm gonna have to run upstairs and cut out a new one. So let's see if I can do this without breaking it. Unfortunately, the only way to do it is just muscle it in there. So it's all in place, just gotta get really seated down into there. But I guess that's also what the rubber bands are for. So I get that. Alright, that wasn't so bad. So, two side pieces. Across there. Fold that up. That's going to seat nicely there. Across there. Get all that up onto the inside of that. And I got way too much glue on my hands. Stick that in just on that side. Yeah, it turns out the dividers on the bottom half really hold it together. I'm kind of surprised by that. So this one should fit in just very nicely. There, onto that side. then fold that up, slide it all in, and that is entirely in place. I just need to tie it all down so it doesn't. See how many rubber bands I go through trying to fit this onto here. This might just be, I might just not have grabbed a big enough one for this. Nope. Alright. Oh well, I'll do the side ones at least. The end pieces will just have to, I don't know, be a little loose. It's alright, they don't need to fit too badly against each other. Or, that didn't even make sense. This isn't, precision is not super, super critical at this point, because it's got the two halves of the box. It's just going to be hinged on the back, fold open like that, opens to a nice little compartment there, closes back up. Just need to seal down. How many of these left do I have? Should be enough. So, while this is drying, I'm actually going to be working on a more interesting project I have for the night, which is a knife block. Sorry, let me get some of this. Get some of this glue back off the table. Working on a knife block, because the knife block I have is this kind of, it's just a bunch of plastic rods stuck into a wooden block here, and it seemed like a great idea, except when I got it I didn't realize that it's just not long enough for, it's not deep enough for my chef's knife and for my bread knife and stuff like that. And then I was putting this ceramic knife in here, and I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera. Yeah, you can see in there there's a nice big old chip out of the blade on this. So I don't know if I can blame this knife block or not, but it gave me an excuse for a new project, which is a 3D model. Put the knives into Fusion 360, model up this thing to go around them, which is just a stack of slices of cardboard here. Went through the slicer tool and put all that out. So I cut out the 149, I think there's 6 slices missing off the bottom here. Cut out 149 slices, stack them all up on wooden dowels, and I'm like, okay, so I need to stick all these together now, and I'm just like, it's just cardboard, I can mess around. And what I'm going to be messing around with it, trying to get it stuck together, plain old spackle. I'm just going to throw a big old layer on the outside of this, see if that fills in, that cracks nicely, if I can sand it down, smooth it off, paint it to, I don't know how to make it match my kitchen, or what that would even look like. But I've got options for decorating it once it's all put together. I'll cut the dowels off on the end, sand that down nicely. I can slap a veneer thing on the front there. A couple of things that went on with this. You can tell this is pretty big. This is quite a bit bigger than I was expecting, because I had guessed, just estimating it, the thickness of cardboard slices in here, and guessed just a little too narrow apparently. So the slices are quite a bit thicker, not quite a bit, but that adds up over 150 slices. Hello. So this is a bit bigger than I was expecting, and it's this kind of giant block thing that's going to be sitting in my kitchen. So I'm thinking, okay, what if I just once I get it all together, just take the back and just cut it off at a right angle there, so if it's sitting up against the wall. Unfortunately, this is the longest thing that needs to go in here. This is a honing rod for the fancier knives I have, and it comes all the way down to here. This is a serious tool to have to. This takes up a lot of space in here, so it really does need to be at least that long. but slice is coming undone. So anyway, just gonna start throwing stuff onto here and see what happens. Like, I have honestly no idea how spackle and cardboard interact. Like, will this just soak in? Will something... this stuff coming off the lid seems to be pretty dried. Like, will it soak in too far? Will it just get the cardboard all soggy? I don't know, but like, it's cardboard. I don't feel bad throwing a bunch of it into just this test here. The raw materials, they're just boxes from IKEA furniture, so like, it's already going less to waste than it would have. So it's gonna just drink up the spackle, it looks like. That's fine. I've got plenty. Went out and got the 1-quart jar because I knew I was going to be basically just filling in the corrugations on the cardboard. Who knows how deep it's actually penetrating in this. I'm noticing apparently I spackle right-handed. I'm mostly left-handed for things that approximate this sort of motion, this sort of like, oh, it's holding a paintbrush or a pen or something. But apparently I spackle right-handed. I didn't know about that. Maybe I'll switch up later. Maybe it's just a matter of the angle I've got it sitting at here. Yeah. And if you're like, if you're really trying to do like stacked cardboard art, then you want to make sure all your corrugations are going the same direction. I didn't do that. I just did wherever, like, put the slices at whatever angle on the piece that they would fit most. So just trying to waste as little as I had to going through on that. So you can see, like, here down, the corrugation's always going that way. There's a big swath through here where the corrugation's going through that way. And I actually really like the look of the just slices, but I might do that for some other project, some other sculpture art piece or something. But for a practical piece like this, I think I'm just going to go ahead, spackle it, sand it, see what happens. My other worry is if this is the widest knife that had to go in there. So as it's coming down on this side, I'm wondering if the spackle's just gonna seep through so far that it interferes with the travel path on that. But I don't know. Like, I don't know when I'll be able to figure that out. I guess as I'm spackling down that side, I can try to just put the knife in once or twice and see if it comes out with spackle on it. If it does, maybe I want to let it dry with the knife in there, maybe? Try to just see if that... See if that's enough. I mean, that might end up with the knife being glued in, but what you gonna do? All right, so that's kind of. I'll go ahead and take that off and do a little more further down this way. Yeah, this is just absorbing spackle. Basically, I'm going to have a half-inch thick shell of spackle around the outside of this. It just happens to have a little corrugated cardboard embedded in it. But you know, if it's strong, I don't really think that's a problem. Big old vinyl box sitting on my counter with my knives in it. Looks like it's filling up on that side. Let's keep rotating it over. So I was thinking about doing a new knife block. Okay, maybe we'll just do something with layers of plywood and slots down the side of that. But then when I thought about doing it with the slices like this, I'm like, oh, that can get me a lot more organic shapes, and this whole curve sort of thing looked like this just blob of knives oozing out of my counter and out of my wall. So having this top layer on here is going to be a struggle keeping the top layer cemented down in there. I should also have figured out, like, once all the spackle's on, figure out some way of clamping it down like this. I don't have bar clamps, let alone anything that long. I mean, I could have run over, grabbed something from the tool library. I don't know if they're open this week. I've been running around so much these last couple days anyway that it's not really gonna be worth it. So tapping at my chamber door. I closed the door this time. I'm not letting the cats in. They'll be looking around. They were napping when I came down here. I don't know if they'll wake up and miss me, or they're cats. They're 10 years old. They're always napping. But had them running around in here the last couple streams I did at home. That's great until they knock all your stuff on the floor. So I decided to leave the cats out of here for the day, for the night, for the evening. What time even is it? I've been a responsible adult for so much of today that this is kind of my reward for wrapping that up. So we're getting on this side, and the corrugation is so tangent to the surface that that's really just swallowing that up. Smooth that onto there nicely. Shows the edge. I like how it shows the edges of the corrugation on that. I assume that'll pretty much stick around, still be visible as it dries. And then if I start to sand that, that'll probably still show through even from that. I don't know. And then as I start to flip this over and start going more to the side, I don't know if that's going to be, I don't know how to rest this on the table so it's going to dry smoothly. I don't know. I'm just making this shit up as I go along, let's be honest here. So getting around the corners, getting it smooth through here, through these inflection points. That's going to be the real hard part. And then I should probably also do the bottom down here, except that like instead of just the flat cardboard of that, I want to cut out another, like just a plywood piece as a base, kind of lower the center of gravity and that sort of stuff. Because the knives are all going to be very forward in here and pretty high up. So lower center of gravity is just going to hold it down a little better. And then just having a nice, more solid, kind of clean look on the base will be That'll be good for it, just aesthetically. Alright, so now that I've gone down this side with the spackle, I'm gonna put that knife in, see if it comes out with anything on it. Nope, coming out clean. If this were a muffin, it would be cooked. So I think I'm not going to have any interference on that. I'm a little worried these top few layers are separating out so much, but nothing I can do about that while I'm clamping it like this. I guess if I'd had threaded rods for these two, and I could put nuts on both ends and actually screw it down. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I'll make sure to do one last wrap around the top with the spackle before I let it really start drying. And just hope. I mean, I've also got this glue here. Let's be real. Maybe I should take those top 5 layers off and put some adhesive in between there. It's kind of a bit late to be saying that now that I'm halfway done wrapping it. Alright. Knock my water over. Rotate this around. Start looking down this way. Yeah, that's curvature through this part is really interesting. So, you see, get it through, get it down onto the sides here. Yeah, I really like the corners and the edges of these that I've got going on here, and shaping that in the cardboard in this spackle on it is going to be an interesting trick. Like I can pull to the corner from this side, I can flip it up on end and pull to the corner from the other side. Just don't know if it's going to be real nice and sharp. My finger's not a putty knife. Don't know if it's going to be real nice and sharp like it's supposed to, or if it's gonna just be dull. I mean, I'll probably just throw a bunch of layers onto it and sand it, and throw more layers on and sand it, and basically put a bunch of vinyl dust into my vacuum cleaner. Will be the end result of that. But so that's kind of the. You stay in place. You stay in place. Is the top dry enough that I can just rest on that? It is not. So we may be in a situation of half done, let it dry, do the other half. So I will just get more into the layers where it's going to need it most. Get that nice covered thick. Yeah, I just stabbed that. And of course, sand it all down at the end. That's what really matters. All right. Yeah, okay, I guess I got the whole underside here. It can be slathering spackling into, which is such a great view from the camera of the side that's pointing away, but sorry. I feel like I should be embedding hidden treasures in the center of this for future generations to find, like rare coins or something. When someone's going through my possessions after I die, tear apart the knife block and find, I don't know, 75 cents. Just layer a few quarters into there. I mean, it's in there to lower the center of gravity. Yeah. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and flip this up. Dryness be damned. Place for in coin collection. Found some small bits of foreign coinage. I have, what foreign coinage do I have around? Probably just a couple Canadian coins. Probably got like 30 yen sitting around I could have left in here. I don't think I still have the Lithuanian coins that I once had, but yeah, just slap those in there. On the other hand, I might have just thrown those into my random coins jar, and then sorting all that out from the American currency would be quite a bit of trouble. Alright, the bottom is coming together quite nicely here. Let's get it all the way up onto the teeth. Or maybe write secret notes on paper and slide those between the layers before sealing it all up. Time capsule message for the future. If I was smart, I would have a sheet of wax paper in here to set this down on. But I don't. Could run out to the kitchen and grab that, I suppose. That's nice. Coming off there pretty cleanly. Alright, now I've been stalling on the interesting parts for too long. Alright, start getting up around the neck in here. There. Wow, I've gone through half this tub of spackle already. Like I said, I'm just filling in the corrugations on the cardboard. Turns out there's a lot of airspace in this. People see the knife block in the kitchen and they're like, wow, what's that made of? Oh, it's cardboard? Well, cardboard and spackle. That accounts for 3/4 the weight. But I think I'm kind of considering this a test run proof of concept for cardboard and spackle construction that I might do in the future. But you know, kind of a big project, big concept just for showing that a method works. Yeah. Anyway, that's how I do projects, though. I don't do simple stuff when I'm figuring out. All right, well, what's the large implication of this new skill I could do? Oh, sure, yeah. That doesn't sound hard at all. It's just long. Oh wait, now I've committed to double knitting a 12-foot scarf. Or, you know, making a chainmail shirt. And then I don't stop. And it eventually finishes. It spends about 3 months in the back of the closet while I try in vain to forget about it. Which is actually not happening for this one. I've been pretty consistent going through on it. So yeah, I'm pushing the spackle through on that. It's just oozing right back out. The other side. Corrugated cardboard is hollow. Stuff travels through. Oh, don't. Center of gravity on this is very much imbalanced. And it's not holding its shape while I try to do this. So this is gonna be interesting experience getting to the last half over here, last third. Into the one side that's uncovered, because I'm already oozing spackle onto the table. Yes, I should have glued it. I see that now. Let me just take apart all these layers one at a time. Put one drop of glue between each one. Put it all back together. Yeah, if I redo it again, I'm gonna tweak the slicer settings, make it give it the right thickness for once. All right, let's roll this back down. I'm gonna close this up, do a little cleanup. What do I have in here to flow some very thin glue like CA super glue down the edge of the dowels. The dowels are pretty tight in there, but that might work. I don't know how well it would flow, because there's a lot of friction between the dowels and the cardboard. So I don't know if I tried to run a glue down the side of the dowel, if that would just capillary out into the cardboard, or if it would get down deep into the whole block. But it's an idea. I might try that actually. Or if nothing else, put some dabs of glue around the ends of the dowels, hold things in place. So this is about 3/4 spackled. I want to let it dry a bit. I want to get some of this spackle off the table, but it doesn't have a flat side to rest on. Well, it does have a flat side to rest on, but I want it to be vertical, so the slices, and I just touched the spackle on the bottom of that. But yeah, I want gravity to basically hold the slices together at this point. So maybe slices 6 and 7 can come off like that. Let me see where this can sit. I'm going to set this here, shuffle some stuff around so there's space for it, and then run and grab paper towels from the kitchen. So, I will be back in 20 seconds. suppose I should have checked ahead of time if there's any bare skin contact warnings on this. Avoid eye contact, inhalation of dust, or a dust mask. No, it's fine on skin. Or at least it's not claiming to be nasty on skin. So, not too worried. Alright. Let's see how well this is drying out. And maybe start getting the hinges attached into that. So, let's see. That side. If how long do you claim to take to dry? Clamp for 30 minutes. How long have I been recording for? Live 47 minutes. Well, let's put the hinges onto one half. So I got these kind of fancy brass bolts and cap nuts because I wasn't going to try to because the hinges came with their own sets of screws, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to be screwing into weakened 1/4 inch plywood, and the domed cap nuts are kind of a nice look, even though they'll be on the inside. So 6 of each. Then I've got this whole that rubber band's over there. It took me several iterations through Fusion and Inkscape trying to get the shape of the engraving matched up to the hinge. I think it came out pretty nicely. So, see if the holes lined up, because the machining on the hinge is not very good. Get those in place. Get the nuts on. Yeah, the Glowforge makes these super easy, though. I don't know if you were tuned in earlier when I said that I got 3/4 of the way through and it started importing at the wrong size. I was importing SVGs, and suddenly they were about 5% smaller than they were in the file in Inkscape. And that doesn't work out when you're trying to line up tabs with other pieces. So I still don't know what the hell was up with that. I had to manually rescale them. And as kind of the upshot of that is the back. Yeah, there's a crack in this back piece on the bottom half where I was trying to force it all together and it cracked. I'm like, well, I'm just gluing it all into place anyway, so that's not really the end of the world. And I may have made a tactical error in the design here, because as I'm putting this together, I need to hold the nut on the inside, but then as I'm putting the top half of the box on, what do I turn against on the bolt there? So it'll I can do it there, but then I can't reach the screw. So see how that comes together, or doesn't. Probably end up flailing at it with the screwdriver from the outside and seeing how far down it tightens. But there is a hinge on the bottom half. There you are. And 3. Down on that. So yeah, even after all that work, the engraving doesn't quite. Where's that fit there? The engraving doesn't quite match up with the hinges, but I just wanted to do that as an extra little touch on there. So let's take all this rubber banding off, realizing that once I've got it hinged together, I can just rubber band around the whole thing. So bottom half, hands off the top half. I guess a true pro would have sanded down all these edges before putting the hinges on, so I could sand the back pretty nicely as well, but that's alright. I don't want to do the sanding on the stream anyway. That's kind of an obnoxious noise and just takes over everything. Hard to, especially on camera and on recording, hard to feel like talking and sanding can actually coexist. So let's see. Speaking of obnoxious noises, oh, I got way more of these than I actually needed. Perfect. And that one's too long. 6. I have 4 extra nuts and 3 extra screws, one of which is too long. I was being very careful at the hardware store, you can tell. So let's try. That's not how that goes. Let's actually do this way. Put that up from the bottom, and then I can put a nut onto it. Same on the other side. That half open. Tighten. Let's see if this one. Tighten. No, that is the screwdriver on the other side. Well, let's get the others in, see if the nut embeds into the wood deep enough that the screw can turn, or the screwdriver can turn the bolt rather than turning the whole assembly. So 2 more of these. Okay. And then my thought at first had also been to engrave holes in the inside of the wood for the nuts, so that they're just embedded in there a bit, because right now they're kind of sticking out quite a bit there. There's quite a bit of extra just texture in the back, and like, sure, it looks nice. It's not optimal if there's stuff going in here that's like delicate and needs to not be scratched. But if I was doing something like that, I'd figure out some way to do a fabric lining or velvet. Certainly, maybe rivets instead of screws and bolts like this. So yeah, that is in fact tightening the screws rather than just turning the nut on the inside. So that is closing down nicely. And it is not it is not rock solid tight for some reason. Probably the placement of the hinges is weird. You can tell it's gapping quite a bit more over here. It's off by, the angle's off. It's skewed this way by 1/64 of an inch. That's just and it's got just a bit of an underbite. You can see there. I don't know how that happens strictly, I guess, but let's rubber band it back down, let it finish drying, and then see where the spackle's at. I'm being super careful, obsessive about all these rubber bands being smooth. Not because it matters structurally, but because I like it. It looks nicer to me, and even though it's just drying, I still care. So yeah, that is skewed just a bit. That's really wonky. Unfortunately, I think that's what you get when you have to freehand eyeball the shape of the hinges. I mean, what I ended up doing was putting the hinge on a scanner, scanning that in, and then importing that into Inkscape, outlining that. But it's not like I could just import the model. If this was a McMaster car part, then Fusion 360 will just import those, and you can say, okay, this is exactly the size of this hinge, this is where the screws go, but the McMaster car catalog doesn't seem to have the decorative stuff like this. They seem to be much more on the utilitarian, useful, just get it done end of things. So, also I didn't realize that I had made the lid of this box is actually larger than the base, than the bottom half, which is a little weird, I guess. I think it's bigger. Yeah, it's a bit bigger. Not sure how I managed to do that. Oh well, this is version 2 of this box. We'll see if I can update that for version 3. Alright. How dry are you? Where I started with you. You're kind of dry on top. Are you still, yeah, still wet along there? Looks like it's kind of oozing out. I assume this is expanding as it dries. So, yeah, the top few slices are still coming off there. But I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, get a little more spackle on the table, and seal down this last half. So, get that nice and thick in there. It's just disappearing. So yeah, if this is expanding while it dries, it'll kind of ooze out of the corrugations. I'll sand it down and then add extra layers of either more spackle or gesso or paint or something. So it'll end up being this just shell of volatile chemicals around a cardboard sort of superstructure here. Now I'm imagining this as a as an actual construction technique. Like instead of using rebar, you could use corrugated iron, corrugated sheet metal, and have those slices stacked in alternate directions, and then just pour cement over that, or make a shell of that, something like that. I don't actually know if that would be structural at all. But I think I know who would. Maybe my next stacked cardboard thing, I'll specifically start playing with the direction of the corrugation. Offset it by 10 degrees each layer, 30 degrees each layer. See what that does. Get some cool spiral patterns down the side. I have no idea what I would build, what I would be making next. The stacked cardboard thing is a bit too. Most of the things I think of, oh, I could use 3D printing for that. They're much smaller scale stuff that I could actually use a 3D printer for, like D&D minis, and I guess that's the major thing I've used the 3D printer for so far. And doing stacked slices out of just plain old copy paper sounds horrifically time consuming and tedious. And I don't doubt that people would do it. I don't doubt that it would look really good if you could get the alignment right, but that's a big if. Like you'll have pins, like sewing pins instead of dowels through that. And then you sneeze and the whole thing just disappears. Also, I'd have to work out the laser cut settings for super thin paper, because it's nice. The slicer plugin is nice enough that it will score a slice number on each piece, so you just have to look. You can keep them in order, but being able to do a score on a thin piece of paper with a laser that doesn't just cut through it, that seems like some precision work there. I think it worked on the cardboard though, so maybe it will. Come on. Got this one line right here that's at an angle I'm just not quite reaching right. Just lather a bunch on there and scrape off the excess. That's how spackle works, right? Kind of is, actually. The point of a putty knife is just a single flat edge, so you can make a sort of gel conform to the solids around it. Splatter a bunch down into here. hand's starting to cramp from holding the putty knife like this. So once I've got all this filled in, I think my next step is go grab some wax paper so that I can just set it on the flat bottom. Let the desk flatten that out. And just let it dry upright, I suppose. Torn between trying to slather as much in there as possible and trying to flatten it out as best as possible, and then realize, I'm just going to sand it all off again, right? So that side. Now turn it around where I can see it and you can't. Things there. Yes, I need to cut the ends of the dowels off. That was going to be like the last step. Alright, that's starting to come up nicely. Come to a point there. And some further down this way. I'm still pretty sure I'm just going to slice this off right there just to fit it in the kitchen a bit better. Oh well. Oof, yeah. Alright. This needs to sit upright, and that means I need a better surface to set it upright on. So, I thought I had brought everything in here that I needed. I was wrong. I'll be back in just a second. So, let's paper up. There we go. Just see if I can pull these up through a bit so it can sit all the way flat. Right now I've got them hanging out the back end just a little. Alright, that's sitting up. I'm gonna scrub a little more of the spackle off my table. Or just let that dry onto there, I guess. So yeah, I have a proto knife block at this point. It's quite a bit heavier than it was when it's just cardboard. See how it starts to look when I put all the implements into it. And yes, I do need to cut the dowels off the front here. Bread knife. Ceramic knife, I think, is this side. This side. Fancy knife that I never trusted to go into the plastic rod one. Fancy ass paring knife would be kind of centerpiece there. Cheapo IKEA steak knives. So yeah, those all fit really nicely. That's the best angle for the top camera, just to get that. So yeah, I'm super happy with that. Yeah. I was kind of worried about how the fit would turn out because I'd taken a picture of all the knives and was importing that into Fusion and trying to do the right guesses as to widths and handle sizes and how to cut the space out of there, but it fit nicely. Turns out when you custom design a knife block for exactly the right 12 pieces, it fits those just very well. And then of course I realized 6 months from now I'm going to say, oh, it's time for me to get new real steak knives. I'll get rid of all these, and then whatever new ones I get won't fit in here at all. But you know, I'll just make a new knife block at that point, right? So yeah, that I think is the extent of the projects I had to work on tonight. Let me see if this computer will pull up Fusion 360 and run it nicely with no, Fusion 360 is on my desktop, and run it nicely with OBS and trying to do the streaming. I would be less than surprised if it just craps out when I try to do that, but so yeah. I mean, it's also probable that that it will be asking for my Autodesk password, and try to log on. I don't have that in front of me right now. I'd have to go look it up, and that's probably not worth it. So if this doesn't come up, this will probably just be the end of the stream. So it is trying so hard, but the little flip book I'm running it on is not meant for full power graphics applications and CAD and all this sorts of stuff. It's really meant as a basically a netbook, but gets the job done most of the time. Let me see where I can start sharpening the corners on this. Yeah, it definitely feels like the cardboard is getting soggy. So it's soaking into that. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it could be a bad thing if it means the shape gets even more warped. It could be, yeah, Fusion 360 wants my login. I don't want to deal with that right now. Yeah, if the cardboard just gets more warped, then the shape could get horribly out of line, but if it is sogging just a little and then starts to dry out more together, that'll probably hold it together a little better. So yeah, I'll come back to it tomorrow and kick it a bit, see if it breaks apart. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad I finally got these things going. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. Cool. And I will do another stream later. I'll probably do either some more Alpha Centauri at some point this weekend, next week, or I'll put together one of these Lego sets I've had sitting around for months that I meant to do here a while ago, but life got in the way. So take care.